from the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight with Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
All right, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight, breaking down the Broncos and the Washington football team matchup this weekend. Benjamin, the first thing that jumps out is that defensive line is really no joke. And I know that the numbers aren't wowing by any stretch of the imagination. They've also played some really good teams up front here in the season. But between Montez Sweat, Allen, Chase Young, Payne up front there, they are going to be a significant challenge for the Broncos offensive line.
Yeah, all right, got some great athletes on that front four. But the Broncos are coming off a Thursday night football game where they played a team that had some great athletes on that front four too, and Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, and of course the tackles that the Browns have. So it's not like that this is a significant jump up from what they've been playing or anything. So I think if you're the Broncos, you want to try to take the game plan that you had and incorporate large portions of it against the football team here, the generically named football team.
Well, and that's exactly right. So you and I already talked about this on Broncos Country Tonight, the radio show. Mm-hmm. And as always, invite people to go check it out, broncoscountrytonight.com. We talked about it as there were things they did in that Cleveland Browns game on offense that are building blocks for things they could do the rest of the season, but even more specifically in this game, the use of the screen game, basically neutralizing a lot of that pass rush. It was funny. I was watching a lot of Washington today, and the one thing that jumped out is this would be a game that I think Drew Lock actually would be pretty good for you in, because the ability to have a scrambling quarterback with these pass rushers, because what happens is they get upfield really fast, and you need to be able to get in and out of that. And Teddy Bridgewater, unfortunately, I don't think is going to have the legs for it for this.
We call that exiting through the front door instead of exiting through the back door. You don't want to get out of the back of the pie. That's what Mahomes and Murray and those guys do, is exit out the back door. Drew Lock said exit out the front door kind of guy. Teddy Bridgewater's stay there some more. We're going to stay home, and we're sacked. No, I'm kidding. I'm not trying to be like that to Teddy, but you get the idea. Teddy doesn't scramble too much anymore. He does occasionally, but not much. He's got the foot injury. So yes, you're probably right with regard to that. I think you were talking about having the bricks, in the game or whatever. We'll call us Ben Simmons in this one, because there's going to be a lot of bricks if you're doing it right.
Nice,
and that's getting this screen game going. I think that there are a couple other things they really need to do. I think you've really got to unleash Noah Fant in this game. These linebackers can't cover worth a darn, and so I think this is one where you're looking at unleashing Noah Fant. You can use the receivers as clear out. You can do that, and I know you want to get Jerry Jeudy going again, but I think the key to this one's really going to be Noah Fant and setting it up against these linebackers, because they just can't cover.
Yeah, it's interesting because Jamin Davis is a guy that you and I liked quite a bit out of Kentucky.
He's got an athletic profile. He just doesn't have coverage instincts.
He isn't there for a coverage guy, right. At least right now. I don't know if he's going to inevitably be better than that, but right now that is not part of his game. And, yeah, you're right, the other linebackers in there are also not for that. So, yes, I think you have a great point you bring up there between Hudson, Holcomb, and Davis. I think the Broncos have a mismatch there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they really do. And I like Holcomb. I think he's a good linebacker. I think he's miscast in the Jack Del Rio defense, and it's interesting because Jack Del Rio defense, without having linebackers, just doesn't. And a Ron Rivera defense, it doesn't have linebackers. That's the hallmark. That's the position those guys played.
You're right.
So that seems to be at odds with what the two of them would desire. You look at the secondary, they've got some speed. They've got some ability back there, but, man, they've just been beat up this season.
Yeah, they got Fuller and St. Juste, and Fuller's their best corner.
And I don't know what's up with the Fuller DNA this year, but both Fullers have taken a step back. They need to fire whoever it was they were working out with this offseason.
Yeah, it just seemed like each game I'm watched today, he's just getting picked on.
Right, both of them. They're, for people who don't know, they're brothers. But
right, but I'm just I was kind of surprised because I know the name itself usually carries a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of respect, but that's not the case.
They moved Landon Collins down to be a linebacker now. He's not really a safety anymore, which is probably smart. Cam Curl looks pretty good for them. That's one you want to avoid. He's one of the more underrated safeties in the NFL.
Yeah, he's
good at what he does.
And they have Bobby McCain there.
Yeah, they got McCain and a couple other guys. So there's talent there, but there are exploitable areas, and I think that's what I think the screen game puts the defensive line back on their heels, and I think sliding the tight end back there, with those against those linebackers, I think that's your mismatch. I think that's where you're going to make most of your money. So hopefully the Broncos are paying attention to this. If Pat Shurmur is any indicator, based on what I saw, he will stay away from the tight end and screen game and exclusively throw into at Cam Curl.
That probably would be the case.
Yeah, we got to take their best one away.
Let's go to the offensive side, or the Broncos defensive side, the Washington offensive side. They got a good offensive line. I'll give them credit. They have a really good offensive line. There aren't a lot of weaknesses along that. The weaknesses I saw was really Terry McLaurin's the one guy that gets the separation out there. The rest of the receivers really don't. Diami Brown is the only other guy, but he's banged up. So honestly, their receiving core, even with Adam Humphries there, which is a guy that usually does pretty well in the slot, he is not what he used to be. Their whole game is, can Terry McLaurin get separation? Nope. Okay, well, then we're going to check it down to either J.D. McKissick or we're going to check it down to Seals Jones. That's their
Which
whole
would have been
game.
Logan Thomas, but he's been hurt. So
right,
Ricky Seals Jones, who's also banged up.
The entire passing offense can be boiled down to, did Terry McLaurin get separation? Nope. All right. Then we're checking it down to J.D. McKissick or
Ricky Seals Jones. And McKissick is kind of that hybrid back receiver, kind of thing. And then running the football, we need to be careful. We got inside linebackers that are very inexperienced or don't have a lot of experience with this football team, and they have running a run game that can pile up on you pretty quick. Scott Turner's son, Norv Turner's the offensive coordinator there. By the way, he's on. If the Broncos were to move on from Vic Fangio, this is one name you'll want to pay attention to as a quote young up and comer offensive type. He's one of the guys that would be on the George Payton short list.
Yeah, and the thing about it is Antonio Gibson is one of my favorite young up-and-coming running backs, but he's dealing with this contusion, and he is not the same guy. I desperately want him to be, because I know he's a really good player, but everything I watched today, he just doesn't have the same burst. So he isn't the guy that I worry about so much. He still is very much involved in the game plan. It's more about McKissick. It's more about basically kind of falling asleep on some of these guys and letting them get some chunk plays. And by the way, Taylor Heineke, he will take off and scramble on you. He's not the most elite athlete, but he will definitely he'll run on you. So it's not one of those things you can fall asleep. He got like a 38-yard gain against the Packers this last weekend because they were all just kind of assuming he'd be there in the pocket, and he's off running downfield. So again, there's not a lot about this offense that is really super scary, but they kind of lull you a little bit. And again, their defensive line can be opportunistic, and that's where you really got to be careful.
Yeah, I think for the Broncos, it's going to come down to how the inside linebackers and how the nose, in place of Mike Purcell, who's probably not going to be available for this game as well, step up against that run game, force them to be one-dimensional, and then take the pass away from them.
Yep. All right. Of course, we'll break it down following the game on Broncos Country Tonight. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching.